And there's plenty of room up here. Like on the floor up here, if you want to come and sit down. Or you know what you could do? You could grab these chairs and move them over there if you want. I'm not going to use a chair, so these chairs are all yours. Good morning, good morning.
Good morning.
Did you stay up late last night?
Yeah.
Naughty children.
Especially,
Naughty. Oh, you're going to sit back there, girl? I feel bad now. Hi, have a seat. Relax. Everybody's so quiet. Wake up, wake up. It's not church. Or maybe it is. No, okay, let's see how we're doing here. We have 1 minute.
1 minute.
To start. How many of you have been to this convention before? Ah, regulars, cool. Okay, and some new people, awesome. Awesome. Say something. So quiet.
You like pie?
You know what it feels like? It feels like a Sunday morning at a convention. You know what I mean? Like people are just completely strung out from Saturday night, maybe even didn't go to sleep, and just kind of dragged themselves into the room.
What's sleep?
Exactly. Ruby, looking good. Okay. You promised me you're going to be more excited when we start talking, right? Yeah. Wake up! I'm very happy to be here, and good morning. Good morning. See, this is another thing about the awkward silence, is that anybody that walks in the room is like, you feel like like everyone's just like, it's not you, really. You guys are totally awesome. Nobody's looking at you right now.
I am.
Feel the stare. Let's start. What do you say? For those of you that don't know why you got dragged into this room, I am just a lowly voice actor. My name is Vic, and it's pronounced Mignogna. It's much easier than it looks. A lot of people just I don't even know what they
I was pronouncing it right this whole time.
Yeah, some people put an L in it. I'm not really even sure. Magnola. But wait a minute, where do you see an L? Where is there an L?
Where's the L?
How do you feel?
But even when I was like a little kid at grade school, you know how the teacher stands in front of the classroom the first day of class and reads the roster? Yeah. Morganson, make. And so even like when I was like 3rd grade, I learned by that time. Just stop the teacher before she says something really bad. Like she'll start, I know you know immediately when she's got to your name. Because she gets this look on her face and goes, like she's trying to form a word. And I would just interrupt her and go, Mignogna! She'd be like, Mignogna. Don't even let them try it. That's the best way I learned. It's Italian. Like lasagna. You don't say lasagna, right? Or maybe some of you do. Someone in the room's like, wait, it's lasagna? I've always said lasagna. Or bologna. Bologna. Or filet mignon. That was one of my many nicknames in high school was filet mignon. Anyway, but yeah, it's easier than it looks. Mignon. But you can just call me Vic, okay? Or jerk or whatever. I've been voice acting for like 17 or 18 years. I've voiced over 300 different anime series and video games. So I'm really old. Oh, I am. My birthday's next month, and I'm not looking forward to it. Every year you think next year it's not going to come. Like, I'm going to say right here at this age, it's going to be awesome. And then it does. There's nothing to do about it. But I'm working on a lot of new stuff right now. How many of you guys were in the panel yesterday? Okay, so I don't want to go over too much of the same stuff because I don't want you guys to be like, ugh, not this again. But for those of you that are here today, hi, come on in. Come on in. Hey, yeah, I tell you what, you guys, come slide on down. Like, let's make room for, I don't want people to look in the door and go, ugh, and leave. Let's let them, yeah, there's this whole, look at this beautiful wall over here. It is lovely, and it is begging to be leaned against. And you get to be by awesome Five Fluorite with her amazing cosplay and that beautiful staff. How wonderful. I'm going to lean against it. I like this area. Yeah, I'm working on several shows right now. Among them, Durarara, some of the more well-known ones, Durarara, Ruby, I love Ruby, Black Butler, Garo, Skip Beat, Ladybug. I'm going to my list, but I shouldn't. Okay, let's see if there are any important
Full
ones.
Metal Panic.
Is there another Full Metal Panic coming?
That's what
Oh,
I've
that
heard.
would be awesome.
Yeah.
I would love it. Oh my gosh, that would be so great. World of Warcraft. Oh, Star Trek Online.
Yeah.
For those of you that like Star Trek. Why is that so rude? Because I'm a huge Star Trek fan. You didn't know. And Star Trek Online is a big official Star Trek video game, online video game. And so to be a part of it means that you're kind of part of Star Trek now. So, yay. The 12-year-old Vic Mignogna is, the 12-year-old Vic Mignogna is jumping for joy right now because he's really excited to be a part of it. Also working on a web series, a Star Trek web series that I started a few years ago called Star Trek Continues. If you haven't seen it, please check it out. You'll see several familiar faces. Not mine, but you'll see like Todd Habercorn, you'll see Chuck Huber, who's here this weekend. If you're Mythbusters fans, you'll see Grant Imahara. Yeah, as Sulu. Oh my. And you'll see a lot of guest stars from different shows and movies. We've picked up where the original series ended, or I should say was canceled, back in the late 60s. And you remember Captain Kirk at the beginning of every show, he would say, "These are the voyages of the Starship Enterprise." It's 5-year mission, right?
Yeah.
But they were canceled in their 3rd season. So we thought, wouldn't it be fun to finish the 5-year mission? And wouldn't it be fun to leave all of the characters where they were when Star Trek the Motion Picture in the late 70s picked them up? So that's what we're trying to do. And if you have any Star Trek fans in your family, tell them about it. All you need to remember is StarTrekContinues.com. That's all you need to know. Go to that website and all of the episodes. We have 6 full-length episodes that are free to watch. Come on in. Come on in. Go ahead and slide down the wall there too and make room for as many people as want to come in. Your breasts are impressive. Your blinding bosoms. Follow the light. If you run down the highway at night, people are like, "There's a car coming up behind us," but no, wait, it's not a car.
It's worse. So much worse.
Yeah, it's worse. It's a car man. Let's see, what was I talking about? Yes, Star Trek. So check it out, please. In fact, we're screening an episode. We were screening one last night. How many of you came to the screening last night? God bless you. Did you really? Did you enjoy the show? Did you enjoy the episode? Well, we're screening another one this evening. So come and watch and enjoy. I think you'll really enjoy it. Yes?
Which room and what time?
Which room? What time? This room.
At 6:30.
6:30.
Yay.
Same bat room. 6:30. Yes.
Same episode as yesterday?
No, you don't think I'd subject you to the same episode twice, do you? No, it's not. It's going to be another one because they're all fun. And you'll really enjoy it. In fact, I may even show episode 3 tonight, which a lot of people absolutely was their favorite. It is a sequel to an original series episode that was arguably one of the more popular of the original series episodes. If you asked most original Star Trek fans, name your top favorite episodes. Name your top 5 favorite episodes. This one would be in their top 5, and in most everyone's top 5. It was an episode called Mirror, Mirror. It was a really cool episode. There was a parallel universe where there was another Enterprise, and another Mr. Spock, and another everybody. But in this universe, it was a very sadistic, barbaric universe. It was not the Federation, it was the Empire. And Spock had a goatee, and everybody wore daggers, and you advanced in rank by killing the guy in front of you. Like it was a real sadistic culture. And let's call him good Captain Kirk and his landing party got transposed with the evil Kirk and his landing party. They went to the good Enterprise, and good Kirk and his landing party went to the Mirror Enterprise, and it was an awesome episode. People loved this episode. And it ended very open. Like there was a very interesting open ending on this episode. And I always remembered, even when I watched it as a kid, I'm like, I wonder whatever happened when Mirror Kirk went back to his Mirror Enterprise. Wonder whatever happened back there. So when we started this series, I thought, hey, now's a perfect example for us to answer that question. So we wrote our own story. And the coolest part is, the first 60 seconds of our episode is literally the last 60 seconds of the original series episode. So we recreated down to the line, the lighting, the camera angle, the dialogue, that last moment of that original episode. But then where the original episode just ended, ours just continues. And it continues to tell the story once Bad Kirk returns to his ship. So check it out. Come see it tonight at 6:30, okay? Promise? 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 Please. Okay. Let's see. Is there anything else? Oh yes, for those of you that were not here yesterday, I'll be doing an autograph session. When is it? Is it after this?
It's 1 o'clock.
Well, obviously it's after this. Where? Excuse me, what time?
At 1.
At 1?
Yeah.
At 1 o'clock, I'll be doing another signing, and I would love for you to be there. If you weren't here yesterday, a lot of you guys wrote me about bringing my music CDs and concert DVD, and I have those. I'll have them at the autograph session, along with a lot of fun pictures of different of the more well-known characters that I played, Tamaki and Zero and Ikuku from Bleach and Broly and Pokemon and Gapika and all of those. I also have a lot of different ones that I didn't even put out because the table wasn't big enough. So if you come down today and you're like, hey, I sure would love a 5 picture, I have a 5 picture. Or do you have any Dark Mousy? I love Dark Mousy. Or I'm a Naruto fan. Or how about Soul Eater? Or so just ask me or ask lovely Megan back here who will be helping me. And I also have to tell you, if you were here yesterday, was this me right here? Is this me? Thank you. I also have to tell you, I mentioned it yesterday, so those of you that were here, I apologize, but I have a live concert DVD that is a lot of fun, a lot of great music. It was recorded live at a big convention in Houston, Texas. Anybody seen it? Anybody here? Did you enjoy it?
Yeah.
I mean, the music is great, the video is great, the audience is great, but there's also something on this DVD that has never been anywhere before, and that is a live action parody movie that I did with the other voice actors from Full Metal cosplaying as our characters.
Oh my God.
Yeah, just think about that for a minute. Like, here's me as Edward Elric. But it's never been available. It's called Full Metal Fantasy. It's never been available before. It's never been online. It's never been anywhere. I only showed it at conventions that I would do, or at concerts that I would perform. So when I made this live concert DVD, I thought, you know what, maybe now might be a perfect time to make it available to the fans. So I have those downstairs at the autograph session as well. Wow, you guys are quiet. I'm serious. Okay. What? No, I don't.
In awe.
I don't think that's it. Okay, so let's stop. I have to say something funny.
Okay.
This happened last night on the
Go for
elevator,
it.
right here in your town. So I got on the elevator last night, and there was a family in the elevator. There was a man and his wife, and 2 little kids, and their grandpa. So I got on the elevator, and the grandpa, I guess I was dressed weird or whatever. The grandpa looks at me, kind of looks me over, and he goes, "So who do you think's better looking, this guy or me?" And I immediately just said, "Oh, you." And one of the little kids goes, "You're bald, Grandpa."
Look at your future, kids.
What?
Look at the future, kids.
Yeah, really. Okay, so let's chat about anything you want to talk about. So let's get a little excitement in here. Let's get some energy going. So if somebody's got a question about anything, I'd be happy to tell you whatever you'd like to know. Yes.
I want to know, what was it like working with the Ruby team?
You know what? I wish I knew. And that is the truth. And that is literally part of my answer. I've never worked with them.
Aw.
I know, right? It's one of those things where you don't realize that when you voice act alone.
Oh.
Did you know that?
Yeah.
Most of you probably
Yeah.
did.
Yeah.
You go into a booth
Mhm.
and you record all your lines alone.
Oh.
Now, if this girl is in the episode with me and she came in last week, her lines have already been recorded and I can hear her recording in my earphones. But if she's not there yet, I got nothing to talk to. You just have to act. You have to pretend like you're talking to somebody. And when it comes to Ruby, even worse, because I record my lines at my home in Los Angeles. I don't even go to a studio and work with the Rooster Teeth people. They send me an email with the lines they want me to say. I'm not kidding. And they send me a script with my lines highlighted so I can see, like, what am I responding to? What am I talking about here? So you have some context. And then I'll go into my little recording booth at my house and I'll do 2 or 3 different versions of the same line. For instance, if the line is, "What are you doing here?" Well, if I'm talking to her privately, I may go, "What are you doing here?" Right?
Yeah.
But if an enemy just walked in the door 20 feet away, it might be, "What are you doing here?" See the difference? Same line. So how do you know how to say it? You know? What if I'm afraid of the guy that just walked in the door? "What are you doing here?" See what I'm saying? It's the same line, but it's performed differently. So you have to know what the context is. And so sometimes I'll give them a few different variations so they can choose what they want when they're putting it all together. And ask me how many episodes of Ruby I've seen.
How many?
How many?
9. Don't kill me. I
She
haven't, but I
probably will.
want to. I want to. I hear it's really great.
Oh.
And I just had the privilege of meeting, do you guys know who Gray Haddock is?
No.
Gray works with Rooster Teeth, and he works with Ruby. And I've never met him, but I've corresponded with him by email many times. So last week I was at Funimation recording a couple of shows before I came here. And I happened to see, outside of every studio, there's a dry erase board with the schedule for the day. And it may say, Todd Habercorn, 9 to 11. And then it may say, Brina Palencia, 11 to 2. Vic Mignogna, 2 to 3. But then as I was looking at one of the boards, it said Gray Haddock, 3 to 4. And I'm like, wait a minute. Gray Haddock, that's the Rooster Teeth guy. I'd never met him. I'm like, what's he doing here? He lives in Austin. And this was Dallas, Funimation. So I literally knocked on the studio door. I'm like, is Gray Haddock in here? And this head comes around the window in the recording booth. And he's like, Vic, Vic! And he comes running out, and the director's sitting there going, what's going on? I'm trying to direct this guy. And Funimation had brought him up to do some stuff for them. So he lives in Austin, where Rooster Teeth is based, but he was just there for the day. And I'm like, dude, let's go get lunch. So as soon as he finished, I let him finish his recording session. And the director's like, well, where are you going? Taking my actor. We went to this really great Thai place that I always go to when I work at Funimation. And we got to have lunch together and had a wonderful time. And I know he posted a picture even. I don't know if anybody follows Rooster Teeth or if they're, I don't know if they've got a, I don't know if Ruby's got a Facebook page or any kind of social like that. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe he posts it there, but he's the only one. Oh! There's somebody else I got to meet from Rooster Teeth, but not work with them. Your question was, how do you enjoy working with them? I've never worked with any of them. But having said that, there's another girl who plays a character in Ruby. Again, this girl could walk up to me and go, hi, I play Ruby. And I'd be like, that's amazing, hi! Because I have no idea who plays what. I would believe her. But there's a girl, what is her name? Is it Erin? Is there somebody, Erin? Yes, Erin Zelch. She was at, where was that? Where was I last weekend? Montreal. She was at the Montreal convention I was at last weekend. So we flew over there from LA to Montreal, and she was sitting 2 seats over. I don't know who she is. I wouldn't recognize, I have no idea. She didn't say a word to me, I didn't say a word to her. She was just another passenger on the plane. So then we get off the plane, and I never spoke to her, didn't know anything about it. And then we get to the convention, and I'm going to my autograph table, right? I'm sitting on my table, and I look over, and 2 tables over, here's this girl that was on the airplane with me. And I'm like, huh, I didn't know she was coming to the show, but I still didn't know who she was. And then, later on that weekend, a fan who I'm signing an autograph for says, I think it's really cool that like you and the other girl from Ruby are here. I was like, what? Wait a minute, who's here from Ruby? Erin. I'm like, what? I literally came around my table and walked down to her table. I'm like, how dare you? You sat 2 seats away from me on the plane the whole way here and didn't even say hello. And she's like, I didn't know if I should say anything. Better say something next time. But, so and then after that, all weekend, I was like, hi, Erin. So we're buddies now. But I didn't know who she was, and I don't know who any of them are. I'm actually kind of excited to meet like the other characters. Question? Yes.
Sorry, question. I just want to say from earlier when you were talking about your last name, how people have a hard time pronouncing it.
I'm sorry. Hold on a minute. Let's let them finish.
I was asking who Erin voices, and she said she wasn't sure.
Yeah, who does she voice? Blake. I guess that's a good thing. Okay, now your question. Go ahead.
Anyways, I was going back for earlier, we were talking about your last name. I know how you feel because I had the same issue.
What's your last name?
It's Hilto. Some people would say Hilti, or if they are really pain about it, they will call me another last name. You wouldn't know what it is?
No, I don't.
You don't want to know. It's a name of a last name of a very bad person.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, well.
But yeah, with last names, I understand how you feel. It's really
Yeah, I'm sure you do. Yes, my dear.
What's the most fun, which voice did you enjoy doing the most?
Well, you know what? I enjoy everything that I get to do. And I know
But
that's a
which one
lame
gave you the
answer,
most
but
enjoyment?
I'll tell you who I most enjoy. Okay, if you were to ask me who my favorite character I ever played was, I would probably have to tell you Ed. Because I played him for a long time, and he's a great character. It's a great show. I mean, some voice actors will go their entire lives and never get to play a character like that. I mean, he was a great role. Now, who did I enjoy the most? Probably Tamaki. And I'll tell you why. Because Oran was a very, very rare exception for me. Oran was a show that I knew about before we ever dubbed it. It was a show that I was told about, I was introduced to by Caitlin Glass before it was even licensed. Now, I don't know if you guys understand this, but okay, so a company in Japan makes a show, and it's in Japanese. And then several English-speaking dubbing companies want to make that show. So they all put in bids to the Japanese company to try to get the license to make the show, right? So until it's licensed, anything's possible, right? Like it could be licensed by a company in Canada. And if it was, I wouldn't be in it, Todd wouldn't be in it, Tatum wouldn't be in it, there wouldn't be that cast. If it was licensed by a company in Los Angeles, chances are the people that were in Dallas at the time would not be in it. So when I heard about Oran, and then I watched a few episodes in Japanese, I fell in love with Tamaki. I thought it was so much fun, but it hadn't even been licensed yet. So the odds of it being licensed by Funimation were slim, and the odds of me getting to play it were even slimmer.
I bet when you found out, you're like,
So then when Funimation got the license, I thought, okay, well at least I have a chance now, right?
Right.
But still, I mean, 100 people are gonna audition, you know? So then Caitlin got selected to direct it, and I thought, okay, well we're friends, and she likes me, and she even told me that she thought that I reminded her of Tamaki, so maybe that's a good thing. But then at the same time, Caitlin's not just going to cast me because we're friends. Caitlin is a much more professional director than that. If you're a good director, you cast the people that are going to work best together in the show. You don't just cast your buddies. You know what I mean? That's not very professional or ethical. So she got cast. She was chosen to play to direct the show. And then we had to audition. And still, the chances of me getting that role are possible, but it's not probable. A lot of people auditioning. So when I got cast, I was so elated. And every moment I spent recording that show, I just savored. I loved it. I would even purposefully mess up a line so I could do it again. I just wanted to make the experience last as long as possible.
What was your favorite line?
Oh gosh, I don't know. I loved everything he said. I loved everything about that character. But yeah, probably Tamaki. And then there was another show that I did, and it's a more obscure show actually. Many of you might not even know it, but it's one of my favorites that I really had a good time doing. And that was a show called, oh my gosh, right out of my head.
oh,
Prince Baka. What was that show? Oh my gosh, I can't believe it. I'm losing my mind. I really am.
it's morning to be fair.
Oh, it almost was there and then it went away again.
Oh.
Anyway, it was a show that I'm going to remember right in the middle of somebody's question. And I was like, but it was a show where I played this, I almost had it again. I played this alien from outer space who comes to this world and is fascinated with pop culture, with Earth culture. And the director, when he cast me, he said, "You can do anything you want." And I said, "What do you mean by that?" He said, "I mean, you can do anything you want. You can do one voice, one line, and change your voice the next line. You can imitate Yoda. You can imitate Captain Kirk. You can imitate Krusty the Clown. You can do the Emperor from Star Wars. You can sing the line. You can yodel the line. You can do anything you want." That's why I cast you, because I wanted you to do anything you want.
Level E.
Level E, I love you. Thank you. Level E, check it out, you guys. It's so funny. It's such a fun show. I really had a good time with that one. Question? Yes, sir.
Which Naruto character did you like playing the most and that you related to?
Well, I really enjoyed Obito a lot. The only two significant characters I really played, well, three. Obito and Nagato, and then there was another character named Yomi. He was in one of the Shippuden arcs, and he was this creepy old guy who cracked his chest cavity open to let something in or out or something. He was creepy. But was it? Yeah.
Yeah,
But and then I played a character named Fwen that I thought was a girl. It's actually not. And then I played a character named C. But Obito was my favorite. Question?
What's your favorite anime to watch?
Ha! Well, you know what? I have to be honest with you. One of the good things about working so much, or one of the bad things about working so much, is that you don't really have time to sit and watch much of it. You know what I mean?
I know that one.
Like I said, I've done over 300, and I think I've watched maybe 10 that I've even been in. When you record a show, you don't get to watch the whole show because that would waste time, right? Like, if your character has 25 lines in this episode, well, I'm not going to sit there and waste studio time letting you watch the whole episode and then just do your lines whenever they come up. No, I'm going to do this line, then we're going to jump over here and do these 4 lines, then we're going to jump over here and do these 9 lines, and then you're done. Bye. So, conceivably, you might have no idea what's going on. And you don't know what anyone else did, you've not heard anyone else's performances, you've not seen it finished, you may not even really know what's going on. Except the director will tell you what you need to know to perform your role, but you're not going to get to watch it. So there are a handful of shows that I've done that I was really fascinated by, and I wanted to watch. Full Metal, obviously, D and Angel,
Ruby.
Oron, obviously.
Yeah.
No, never seen Ruby, as I said, but I will. Full Metal Panic. There was another show that I did that, again, not a lot of people know about, but it's one of my favorites. It was so beautiful. It's called Air. Oh my gosh, what a wonderful show. What else?
Princess Nine?
Princess Nine, thank you. That was an older show that I did that was really wonderful. Generator Gall was one of the first lead roles that I ever played that I love. But that's about it. I mean, like, there are a handful of shows. Vampire Night that I worked on that I was like, ooh, I want to watch this. And I want to see what everyone else does, you know? But I don't get to watch, I really don't get to sit and watch them. When I was a kid, I was obsessed with Speed Racer. But I didn't know it was anime. I just knew it was kind of weird and cool. Good morning. Can you guys slide down the wall? All of y'all, slide down so we can make room for more people. Just slow down. We will make sure everybody gets in. But I had no idea it was anime. I just knew that it was different. You know what I mean? It was weird. It, like the guys that voiced in it didn't sound like Scooby-Doo. It didn't sound like American cartoons, and it didn't look like American cartoons. It had its own style. But I loved it. And I had no idea it was anime. And then I watched Kimba the White Lion, and I thought, this kind of looks like Speed Racer. But I don't know, what is this? Maybe it's the same company. You know what I mean? I didn't know when I was a kid. I just didn't know they were anime. Question? Yes.
Okay, first off, giant Speed Racer fan too.
Oh, cool.
My parents didn't have a bedtime, so it used to air it late at night, and I used to stay up watching it.
I love it.
Okay, so you said you like Star Trek original series. How do you feel about Next Generation?
I like Next Gen. Okay. It's no Star Trek, the original series. I mean, I find that people that were born during a certain time, when a certain Star Trek series was on, that's their series. Like, I know a lot of people, Star Trek Next Generation is their show, because they were born and they were growing up during the time, Captain Picard and those guys. That's great. Good for you. For me, it's Captain Kirk, Mr. Spock, Scotty, Dr. McCoy. That's my show. And when Next Generation came out, I wanted to like it. Does that make sense? Like, I was excited. Oh my gosh, more Star Trek, right? I want to like it. I hope it's great. And then I watch, I'm like, it's not the same. It was a different show. To me, Star Trek Next Generation was much more cerebral. Do you know what I mean by that? It was much more talky-talky. Let's talk about our feelings. Let's talk about the problems. Let's talk. The original was action. Let's do. You know what I mean? And they're very characterized by their two captains. Look at the difference. I mean, those two series are personified in their captains. Captain Kirk was a go-get-em, kind of a cowboy, right? And Picard's like a grandpa. Right? Am I wrong? He's kind of slender. He's not a physical guy. He's a diplomat. Number one, let's talk about this problem. Right? I mean, that's really the difference between the two series. You can see in the captains. And I love those guys. By the way, I've become friends with all of them. Like Marina Sirtis, who played Counselor Troy. She's the voice of the computer in my Star Trek show. Michael Dorn, good friend, he was the voice in one of our shows as well. Brent Spiner, he and I are good buddies. I've done conventions with all of them and gone out and had dinner with all of them. And they even know that I'm an original series guy. They know that I'm not going to nerd out. That's probably why they go to dinner with me. Because they know that I'm not going to nerd out over them and like try to steal their food and sell it on eBay. But I like it fine. My feeling about the Star Trek television series was that every incarnation got further and further away from whatever it was that made the original so unique. And I'm not saying that, I didn't say that was bad, did I? I didn't say it got worse and worse. I said they just got further away. Their formula changed. They tried new things, they did new things, they tried new ideas, but for me there was something very special about the original that resonated with me. And each time they made a new series, it seemed to go further away from that. So that's my feeling about the other subsequent Star Trek series. Yes, my dear.
Keeping with the whole Star Trek thing.
Okay, let's do that. Did you notice I kind of enjoyed talking about Star Trek? Did you get that impression?
Have you seen the new 2009 movie, the J.J. Abrams ones? What do you think about the fact that the director kind of made it so that the original series and the rebooted movies can kind of exist in the same canon? Like they made it so like the time travel and stuff, so that it all still happened, but they kind of changed.
Well, let me just say this. I'm not a fan of what they've done to Star Trek, but I appreciate what they're trying to do. Does that make sense? I'm not going to trash talk them. I'm not going to say what crap their movies are, because they're great movies. They're not Star Trek. I mean, I'm sorry, that's my opinion. They're great popcorn, adventure, sci-fi, spectacle, ships and phasers and fighting, but that could be any sci-fi movie. You don't have to call it Star Trek. You can call it anything. Just because a guy is named Kirk and a guy is named Spock, you know what I mean? That to me, that's not Star Trek. But what I love about the new movies, and I heard that the new one is really good, Beyond, that's coming out, Star Trek Beyond, like next week or something.
July 22nd.
Yeah, like in 2 weeks or something. But I heard that it's really good, and I heard that they're trying to incorporate a lot more of the character interaction and the ethical kind of dilemmas, social things that made the original so good. I've heard they're trying to work more of those into this movie, and I hope that's true. And I know that, what's his name, Simon Pegg wrote the movie.
Yeah.
And Simon Pegg is a big Star Trek fan. In fact, I have an email from Simon Pegg, like a personal email. He wrote me and told me how much he loved Star Trek Continues. So, and you know what he told me? He said it must be really freeing to just be able to make whatever you want because you feel strongly about it, instead of having to write a movie that's going to sell 50 million tickets. And that's the problem they face, is they're trying to appeal to a very broad audience.
They're like trying to attract new fans, but also.
And that's one of my favorite. That's one of the things that I love about the new movies is my hope, my greatest hope would be that maybe someone in this room would go see Star Trek, J.J. Abrams' Star Trek, and go, that was really fun. Wasn't there a Star Trek that was made like in the 60s? I want to watch that. I want to see where it came from. You know what I mean? That's what my biggest hope would be, is that people will watch the J.J. movies and go, yeah, that was a cool movie. I want to go see where this all started. So inasmuch as they're bringing new fans into the Star Trek world and into the fandom, I'm very happy that they're doing that. But I feel like they have a different goal, and the goal is to make money. And that's not bad, but you can't often honor your conscience and your heart, your creative desires, and make money at the same time. It's very rare. Or make a lot of money, I should say. You might be able to make $10 doing something that you are completely invested in. And you might be able to make $100 doing something that you're kind of okay with. And you may be able to make $1,000 doing something you freaking hate. See what I'm saying? You see? But it's difficult to say we want to make like Paramount wants to make a blockbuster movie. It's going to cost us $400 million. So we need to make at least 900 million or $1 billion. How do we do that? What kind of movie do we make to attract, to cast the biggest net, to attract as many people as possible? With Star Trek Continues, that's not my goal. My goal isn't to get the most views possible. My goal is to make something that honors the original series. And the people that loved that kind of storytelling can enjoy these episodes and feel like it's more of what they loved about the original. So I'm casting a very small net, right? My target audience are people that love the original series and that love the sensibilities and the qualities of the original. I'm not making a next-gen fan production, you know what I mean? Or a Deep Space Nine fan film, or a Voyager fan film. Yes, question? Yes.
Playing Tamaki, what was your favorite episode to record, and would you be interested to see season 2? See
Would I be
everybody's
interested? Really? I would pay money. I've said this at several conventions. If I had $1 million, I would personally finance a second season of Oron High School. I would love to. Everybody's You think I'm kidding, but I'm not. I would totally do it. If I had a lot of money, I would just do it. Because I love the show. I know a lot of people loved it. And everyone else that worked on it loved it. So we'd love to do more. I would love it. Now, what was my favorite episode?
Yeah,
Well, again, it's hard to pick one.
3.
The very first one was great. I loved the very first episode right out of the gate because it defines the characters, right? You have to know who these characters are. And the very first episode, you know who Tamaki is. You get him immediately, and I love that. I love so many fun moments in the first episode. But then, what was another one that I really enjoyed? I really, really loved the episode when it goes back and tells the story of how he met Kyoya.
Yeah.
I love that one.
You know, I find myself really drawn to the emotional things, as opposed to the funny things. I don't know why. But I think anime does something very, very well that I think is one of the things that people love about it. It tricks you with comedy. They'll start out with a show and it'll be pure hijinks. It'll be funny, wacky, and you just love these characters and you're laughing and laughing and you love them. They're so kooky and wacky and funny and weird, and then suddenly they start telling this really sad story about how this host club king has no relationship with his family. How his grandma hates him. And you start to see, oh my gosh, he started the host club to have a family that he never had. You know what I mean? And you find yourself so moved. And you never saw it coming. You know what I mean? You're like, whoa, this is so funny. Host club, call me king, the fancy tuna, blah, blah, blah. And suddenly you're like, oh my gosh, I love these characters. And there's so much more to them behind their stories, you know what I mean, than you ever imagined when you started watching. So that's one of the things I love about Oran. And many animes. You know, like even with Full Metal, you know, 1 minute, you're laughing because Ed's going, ah, that bitch beat my ass," and like that quick. You know what I mean? You're like, oh my God. You know what I mean? And suddenly it's got you by the heart. It's pulling at your emotions. And I just love that. I love that. It's not easy to do. You either have to commit to comedy or drama. You know what I mean? Most times you either have to, you just got to pick. You want to be serious or do you want to be funny? It's not easy to mix them both so well. And anime does that very well. Yes?
When voicing Ed, what characters do you like interacting with the most?
Roy?
Roy.
Well, my favorite is with my brother. I'm an only child. So I don't have any siblings. But I always thought, if I could choose a sibling, having a sister would be okay, I guess, and having an older sister would be fine, or a younger sister, and maybe even having an older brother would be okay. But if I could choose, I would love to have a younger brother. I would love to be that older brother that sticks up for his younger brother and teaches him new things and shows him how to do things and feels like his brother looks up to him. And so Full Metal gave me that opportunity because Aaron Dismuke was a 12-year-old little kid when he voiced his character. So he was very much like, and even now, today, he is as much like a little brother as I could have ever wanted. I look at him that way. I see him that way, and he feels that way. We did tons of conventions when Full Metal came out together, and he was a little kid. He wasn't there by himself. His mom was with him. He was a kid, right? And we would sit at autograph tables. And he's 12 years old. He hasn't even learned cursive yet. And we've got 400 people in line, and we're supposed to get through all of them in 2 hours. And I'm like, "Hi, nice to meet you, Vic Mignogna. Thank you." And Aaron's like, "Hey." And I'm like, "Aaron, for the love of God, please." Side pastor. So, one of my favorite stories about Aaron is we were at a convention, I think it was in Toronto, and we went to dinner after the day at the convention. We went to one of those Italian places where they put butcher paper on the table and then they give you crayons, right?
Yeah.
So we're sitting there, and Aaron says to me, "Can you show me how to sign my name faster?" And being the good older brother that I am, I was like, "Yes, I will." I'm like, "Grab a crayon, buddy." And on the butcher paper, I wish I had this butcher paper. Wouldn't that be fun? On the butcher paper, I'm like, okay, there's two different capital A's, right? There's the kind of the big cursive A, and then there's the pointy A. And I'm like, which one do you think's cooler? And he's like, pointy. Yes. So, do that, just make a check. And then I said, and then kind of scribble just like a little short right after the check and make that sound. And so he practiced it. I'm like, practice that. And then I'd start talking to the other people at the table, and he'd go, okay. And I'm looking, good. Okay, let's go to Dismute, his last name. And so I showed him out, and then when we got back to the convention, and then as we did other conventions, he started signing his name faster and doing it like that. And so I love him. So conversations with my little brother were my favorite. I love the conversations with Mustang because of all the tension and the arrogance and the kind of a smart ass kind of an attitude that Ed had toward toward Do you have a question? Yes.
I liked the scene where Roy was dinosaur face shaped and you were alligator face shaped.
One of my many favorite episodes in the original Full Metal was when they fought, when they had the mock battle.
Yes, yes.
That was so funny. And what's funny is that you go back and you watch that episode and you realize that some of the funniest lines in the whole show were from that episode. Like, the whole, whoa, okay, now how we salute, that whole thing of I love dogs. I think that's in that episode. I think it's part of that episode. And then, Ed's, and then, Roy teasing him, like, he's so tiny, I can't see him. And, Ed's freaking out, and that's how he finds Ed, because he can't help but yell. And it was one of my favorites, too, is when they were getting ready to fight, and Ed's like, today's a great day, Al, the day when I get to punch Mustang in the face and get some damn respect. And cute little Aaron's like, what's your strategy, bro? And Ed's like, I told you, a fist in his face!
I wish it was
Yes.
I don't have a question, but she does.
Wow, you have your own personal hand raiser, question asker.
It's just the fact that I could not get it into my timing. I was wondering, have you heard about the
Oh yeah, I've heard about that.
No, I mean, it's just.
Have I heard about what?
The festival for Captain Kirk's birthday.
Yeah, in Riverside,
Yeah.
which is about an hour away. See, I've done my homework. I have heard about it.
Have you ever gotten a chance to go? Or
No.
plan to go?
I would love to go, but I've never gone. I haven't. But it's kind of fun to be so close. I'm not going to have a chance to go. But I will tell people that I was close to Riverside. Somebody somewhere will go, have you ever been to Riverside, Iowa? And I'll be like, almost. Really close. Yes, have you been?
No, not yet, but I hear it's coming up soon.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is the 50th anniversary, right? Did you know that? 50th anniversary of Star Trek. This year, in 1966, Star Trek premiered. And there's a lot of cool stuff going on this year because of the 50th anniversary. There's a big Star Trek convention in Vegas every year. And I always go, just because it's fun. But this year it's going to be really big. Question? Anybody? Question? Yes, my dear.
How did you get into voice acting?
Very much by accident. And I know that I talked about this yesterday, so for those of you that were in the panel yesterday, I'll try to shorten it. But I've been acting since I was very young. I've been doing a lot of theater and stage work and some on-camera stuff and singing and performing. And about 18 years ago, I was working on a video production in Houston with a guy, and he said, hey, you've got a lot of acting experience, don't you? And I said, yeah. And he said, you should go and audition for this place down the street here called ADV Films. They buy these Japanese animated shows and they dub them into English, and they're looking for actors. And I thought, wow, that sounds like fun. I didn't even ask. I'm like, how much does it pay? Because I didn't care, It was acting. He said the magic word. He said, you might get a chance to act. And that's all I really wanted to do. And so I'm like, sure, I'll go and audition. And I did, and I got cast, and it just took off from there. I did the one role, and I thought, well, that was a fun, one-time little weird thing to do. And then they called me and asked me to do another one, and another one, and another one, and another one. And then the conventions started. I started going to conventions, and I started meeting people from studios in Dallas, like Funimation, and studios in New York that did Pokemon, and studios in Los Angeles that did, you name it, Vampire Knight, Persona, Bleach, Naruto, and it just kind of snowballed from there. It was never anything I ever planned or imagined would happen, and it took me quite by surprise. Yes?
How was your first convention? Like, was it odd just being surrounded by people who liked anime? And you were
Yeah,
like,
it was
"No,
crazy
it's
because I
fake."
didn't even know it existed. Like,
Yeah.
I went to Star Trek conventions when I was a little kid, but I didn't know they had anime conventions. So when Monica Rial, you guys maybe know who Monica is, when Monica and I started at the same time, by the way. And when Monica and I started, we were voicing a lot of these same shows together. And one day we were at the studio, and she said, "Hey, you want to go to an anime convention?" We're like, "What?" She said, "Yeah, there's a convention in Columbus, Ohio, called OhioCon, and it's an anime convention. Do you want to go? I was like, okay, sure. And I went, and I was completely blown away. I couldn't believe that like people were coming up with pictures and wall scrolls and pencil boards and plushies and little action figures of characters that I had voiced, and I didn't even know this stuff existed. And I was blown away. I was so excited. And of course, the convention scene has certainly exploded since then. There were only a handful of anime conventions happening at the time. There was A-Con in Dallas, which was a big convention. Anime Expo, Otakon in Baltimore, but not a lot. And then as the industry started growing, I was just blessed enough, and I use that word on purpose, blessed enough to be on the ground level when it started blowing up. I was just lucky to be there. Question? Yes.
Do you like Star Wars too, or are you pure?
I love Star Wars. Love it. But see, I don't know why there should be a fight. Why is there a fight? Why are people like, Star Wars or Star Trek? Choose! Why? They're completely different. Yeah.
Sci-fi, basically.
Yeah, I mean, Star Wars is like fantasy. It's like space opera kind of thing. And Star Trek is sci-fi, but it's like highbrow, like you're talking about. Well, the original was, anyway. In fact, I would even submit that Star Wars is not sci-fi. And I'll tell you why. Where does sci-fi take place?
In the future.
Thank you. What are the first words on the screen in Star Wars?
Long time ago.
A long time ago. Boom.
So it's
Right?
fantasy.
It's fantasy. It's mythology. It's you know what I mean? It's different. And I loved it. I love Star Wars. You think I don't like Star Wars? Get on your phones, some of you, right now, and go to www.lightsaberworld.com. Who's going to do it? You going to do it? Go to lightsaberworld.com. Lest you wonder if I'm a Star Wars fan. I have a collection of lightsabers, like really high-end, like really high-end lightsaber replicas, and I have like 15 or 20 of them. And they're in glass cases in my house on display. When Star Wars Celebration took place, the convention, I was there in full Jedi robes. I stood in line and waited with hundreds of other people when Empire Strikes Back came out. Oh my God, when Star Wars came out, don't get scared. I hope this doesn't scare you that I'm so old. But I was there, like 16 years old, when Star Wars came out in the movie theaters in '77. And I would get my mom to take me to the theater and drop me off at noon for the noon showing and come back at 7 p.m. because I would sit there and watch 3 screenings in a row. I'd sit there all day and watch it. And then I wanted to build a lightsaber. So I would go again and I would sit there with a notebook and I would watch Luke run around the screen and try to figure out what that crazy thing on his belt flipping around looked like. And then I literally started building my own, like trying to make props. Now, why was I trying to make props? Because I started trying to make props from Star Trek 3 years earlier. So Star Trek started me doing all this stuff, and then Star Wars got me continuing to do it. I would do stop motion animation. I would get clay and do claymation with my home movie camera. And I would try to do lightsaber effects with my movie camera, all that kind of stuff. And so I love Star. Did you look it up?
Yeah, I guess it's not for mobile because it's just a black screen.
Oh, boo.
Yeah, it just has like a little picture.
And the picture, is it a picture of you just holding a lightsaber in a...
No, that's the welcome screen.
Yeah.
And then you click on the Jedi Temple. Am I a nerd or what? And you click on the Jedi Temple, and then it takes you inside, and you can see me in my lightsaber robe and my beard, my little beard. Hey, stop laughing. Let me see. I haven't seen it in a long time. Oh my god! Anyway.
Wow.
And you click on, and you can click on, if you click on the saber vault down below, it'll take you to this room with all these sabers hanging on these stone pillars, and you click on any one of them, and it'll blow up like that saber and details about it. So anyway, I'm a huge, see, you get it, right? I'm a big Star Wars fan. So, but for completely different reasons. I really don't even see why there should be a fight between the two of them. But if you ask me Star Trek or Star Wars, which one I like better, what did I make the fan film about? Like, what am I doing a fan production about? Question? Yes?
Is that just a coincidence that you decided to start making Star Trek Continues about the same time Star Wars has been coming back on top?
Complete coincidence. Absolutely complete coincidence. And yeah. Yes?
Oh, sorry if this is too personal of a question. But,
Ooh, this is gonna be good.
not really. I was just wondering, how do you...
Were you ever in prison? No. Have you ever done drugs? No.
I was gonna ask, how did your parents support? I mean, do you think your parents kind of supported you getting into the acting and the craft making and stuff
That's a
like
great question. My parents divorced when I was very young, so I lived with my mom. And my mom and I were very close, and she was very supportive. She was supportive in that she would take me to conventions, and she would teach me to use a sewing machine, and she would, you know what I mean? But she was one of those supportive people who teased you at the same time. Like, you know what I mean by that? You knew somebody's alarm just went off. Did you set one too?
Yeah.
Excuse me, 1 minute, please. Okay. She would tease me at the same time. I knew she supported me. You know what I mean? I knew that at the end of the day, she would help me do whatever I wanted to, she would be there, whatever I wanted to do. But she would tease me. I drove her crazy with Star Trek. I mean, if you ever get the chance to meet her, you ask her, because she used to call it Star Trash. Because I was obsessed. Do you understand? Obsessed? Like I would take the aluminum foil that she had bought in the kitchen for making stuff, and I would cut it up into little Star Trek badges and put it on my shirts, or right around my sleeves. You know what I mean? And she'd come home, and I would have completely covered the dining room table with poster board and intercoms and made it look like the briefing room table. That kind of thing. Or I wanted to paint my walls in my room, or, just like obsessed. And she would be like, oh my gosh, not Star Trash again. So I knew she was teasing me, but it was kind of that, at the end of the day, I knew she supported me. I would say yes. I knew that they supported me. Not specifically like, oh, if you want to go into acting or you want to go into this, I support you. But more like, I support you doing whatever you have a passion for, whatever you feel like, whatever gifts God has given you that you want to pursue, I support you. Now, support, does that mean pay my bills? No. Big difference. Support as in, you have my moral support. I wish the best for you, and if you want my advice, or if you do something, I'll be there to watch it, and I'll tell people about it. I will support you. But not, not I'll give you, thousands of dollars to go play, actor boy or something. I mean, you have to be realistic about that kind of thing. But yeah, they were supportive. Yes, Fi?
Has your mom seen any of your anime work, Oran or anything?
I'm sorry?
Has your mom seen any episode of Oran?
I know she's seen a few. I know she's seen Full Metal. I'm sure she has. She's not the kind of person who would go out and buy a DVD of anime, but if it's on television, she'll watch it. So I know she watched Full Metal. And I'm sure she watched some of the other things that I did. But she's more Like she started coming to anime conventions, and she made herself a windbreaker, and it's embroidered here. It says Vic's mom. And so she's supportive in that way. You know what I mean? I don't think people from her generation ever imagined that somebody could actually make a living doing the stuff that I do. But she is enormously happy that I'm doing something that I love so much. We talk about it all the time, about how grateful to be for getting to do something that you love, because it's rare. We talked about that yesterday. I'm not going to get all deep and heavy again. Were you here yesterday when I talked about that? I know it was pretty heavy. But anyway, question? Anybody? I know you asked one already, so let me get to anybody who didn't ask one. Yes.
I know you're a big sci-fi fan, and in the 4th episode of Star Trek Continues, you had Colin Baker, which is the 6th Doctor.
How cool, right? Doctor Who was in Star Trek.
How big of a fan of Doctor Who are you?
I love Doctor Who. I love it. Now, I love it from David Eccleston on, like him and then Matt Smith, David Tennant.
David Tennant.
Eccleston, then Tennant, then Matt Smith. I'm not so big of a fan of Capaldi. I think I've kind of lost interest. But I love the reboot of it. And I've actually done a lot of conventions with Matt Smith. And actually Matt Smith loves soccer. Dude, let's go. Really? There's a reason for that, because he loves it so much. He probably told them, work out a way that I can play soccer. So I saw him at a convention, and we were back in the green room, and I'm like, dude, you play soccer? I play soccer. Let's go play soccer. And he's like, righto, mate, let's do it. So we always talk about getting a soccer ball and going out sometime at a convention, finding an open field somewhere and just kicking the ball around. But big Doctor Who fan, and become friends with Karen Gillan and Arthur Darvill, and then of course I did a lot of shows with Colin Baker, and he and I hit it off. And when that episode came along, one of our production team, James Kerwin, is a big Doctor Who fan, and he said, "Hey, don't you know Colin Baker? He would be great for this role." I'm like, oh, you're right. He would. So I called Colin, I told him all about it, and he's like, I would love to do it. So, very special. What time are we supposed to be done here?
12.
Really? 12:20? Okay, good. I'm scared there a minute. Yes?
Can you say your most remembered lines from Fullmetal Alchemist?
Most remembered lines. Wow. Well, I remember a lot of the screaming, yelling, short lines, but I'm not going to do them. I have to preserve my voice. If I come to these conventions and scream all weekend, then I go back home and I sound like this. And the studios get really mad. And then I don't get cast anymore because I can't talk. So whenever somebody's like, hey, yo, Kakarot. No. Do a short rant. I don't remember a lot of them, quite honestly, because that was a while ago. That was like 100 anime series ago for me. The ones that I remember are the ones that I've done several times that people have either asked me to do or that really made a big impression on me. And they're the quieter ones, Like the one with the fist in his face. That was one that I always loved. The two that I remember that really had a big impact on me. The first one was the first time that I remember actually shedding tears in the booth about Full Metal, and it was the Bury the Chopper episode in the original. In the original Full Metal. People always have often asked me, did you cry when Nina died? That was really sad when Nina died. I'm like, yeah, it was really sad when Nina died, but no, I didn't. I was acting. When it sounded like I was crying, I was pretending. Because it was early on. It was only a few episodes in, and I hadn't yet become invested really emotionally and connected with the roles. And so, with the other characters. So, by the time we got to the 8th or 9th episode, the Barry the Chopper episode, and Barry rips Ed's automail arm off, right, so he can't do alchemy. And then he's chasing him around that meat factory with that cleaver, and Ed is just freaking terrified. And he thinks he's going to be killed. Like, this is the end. And then Al shows up, right, and saves him. And as they were taking Barry away, had him handcuffed and were taking him away, there was that last scene where Ed and Al are sitting on this, like this doorstep, like on these steps outside the door, and Ed does this little monologue with his brother. And as I was doing it, as I was recording it, I found myself getting choked up. I was like, oh my God. I've never, in the 50 or 60 shows that I had done before Full Metal, I'd never gotten so moved emotionally and, affected by something that I'd done. And the director said, do you want to take a minute? No. Heck no. Let's record it now. You know what I mean? While it's visceral, while it's real. I'm not faking. Okay. So that was the first one, and it was that, you guys know that one. It was the one when he talks about he didn't think anyone was gonna be able to save him. He thought he was gonna die. And Al showed up, and we need to look out for each other because no one else is going to, and I'm gonna do whatever I can to get your body back. And it ends with, because we're not gods, we're just humans, tiny insignificant humans who couldn't save a little girl. And I was like, oh my gosh, that was very emotional to me. And then the other one was the last scene in Full Metal Brotherhood. As he's riding away on the train, and he just got done doing his thing with Winry.
I love that.
And he's on the train, and he does that whole last scene. And I don't remember all the words. I'll try it, just for you. But I don't remember all the words really well, but let me think. Okay, first of all, close your eyes. Everybody, close your eyes. Even if you're shooting video, close your eyes. Because I don't want you to see me. I want you to think of Ed. I want you to see Ed's little face. His cute little adorable face. Okay? There's no such thing as equivalent exchange. It doesn't exist. Sacrifices are necessary. You can't gain anything without sacrificing something first. But if you can endure that pain and rise above it, you'll find you have a heart strong enough to overcome any obstacle. Yeah, a heart made full metal. The end. Oh my gosh, I have people come to conventions and they literally have tattoos that say a heart made full metal with this really cool heart sign. I mean, I love that, so cool. That's what I was talking about yesterday. I am so humbled by that. I'm so just, you know what I mean, blown away. I just want to go, that I could be a part of something that would move people, or help them in a positive way or encourage them. When I think probably any voice actor I know, when they started voice acting, they had no idea what they were going to voice act for, and they certainly had no idea that it would ever mean anything to anybody more than just some minor entertainment. So to be a part of anything that moves people and encourages them in a positive way is such a gift. It's such a gift, and I'm so grateful. Yes?
That's my wallpaper.
Is it really?
Yes.
I love you. Awesome. We have 8 minutes. Any other questions? Anybody? Yes?
Did Ed
break his arm again?
Oh my gosh. Are you dismantling his automail back there? What happened? Anybody have any other questions about anything? Yes.
What is one of your best memories with another actor, actress, director, maybe going to a convention?
You know, I have too many good ones. I have too many great memories. I've been doing this so long, and some of my dearest friends, Caitlin and I are such dear friends. And I love Aaron. And I mean, but then as soon as I start saying that, I love Mela Lee, who played Yuki in Vampire Night. Travis and Laura, Todd. I love Todd like a little brother. We tease each other and we joke with each other. But you know, when the chips are down, he's like a little brother to me. Chuck Huber, love Chuck. Oh my gosh, you know, almost everybody that I've worked with. Monica, Lucy Christian, Colleen Klinkenbeard, just absolutely adore them. So it would be hard to say Steve Bloom, oh my gosh, love Steve. Mary Elizabeth, just so many, really great people. And it's very much a tight-knit little group, you know. In this big, huge world, you know, when you end up finding out that, like, you know how you see like movies that are made by this one guy that makes all of these different movies, and he keeps casting the same actors and stuff, like he uses the same people. It's because he really had a great experience with those people, and so every movie he makes, there tends to be the same actors in it. Pardon me? Yeah, perfect example. And I feel like the voice acting community is a very small little community. Like, not a ton of people do it. So I'm very, very grateful to be a part of it. And I've met and become friends with a lot of really wonderful people because of it. Did you have another question? I know that you did before.
I had something to say. My mom always told me when I was growing up, if you find a job you love, you'll never work a day in your life.
Absolutely, and that's true. It's true. I talked about this yesterday a little bit in the panel. But, you know, as somebody who is older than most of you, I will tell you that making a ton of money is overrated. People that chase that as a goal find themselves never happy, always, you know, discontented, trying to reach for the next thing. And not only are they not happy, but the people in their lives aren't very happy. Like, they don't keep relationships, they estrange friends, because they're no fun to be around. And yet, you know, can I tell you a fun story? This might be a really fun thing to end with. Yeah. It is. It's going to be perfect. 4 minutes. Years ago, I went on a mission trip to the Philippines. I went with a church mission, a group, on a mission to the Philippines. All right? Do you know how poor these people are? You don't. You don't. We were walking down the street in the Philippines, in this town called Iloilo. And we're walking down literally a dirt road. And along both sides are literally buildings, and I use the term building loosely, because they're corrugated pieces of aluminum. You know, corrugated like aluminum? Mm-hmm. Corrugated pieces of aluminum leaned against each other. They were shacks. You could look, you could see inside the shacks. And there were probably 10 people living there. Just as far as the eye could see, anywhere you look. And I'm walking down the street, and there are people, kids kicking a ball around in the yard. Dad's working on something, whatever, somebody making something, cooking something. At one point, I walked by this one house, I can see it. I have a photo of it still. And there was a guy cooking a pig in the front, right out in front. I want to say the front yard, but it's not a yard. It's a dirt space. And he was like, big head of a pig was on a what do they call it, a spit or a skewer. and he was cooking it. And there were kids running around, with nothing but a pair of dirty shorts on or something. But this is what struck me. You ready? They were all happy. And this guy, who has nothing by our standards, was cooking, and he looked up at me and went,
Aww.
and I was like, doesn't he know how unhappy he should be? Doesn't he understand how miserable his life is without freaking cable? Doesn't he understand how horrible his life is without the internet? Doesn't he know that he's supposed to have a cell phone? You see my point? There are people all over this world, I dare say 98% of the rest of the world, that have no clue what it's like to have a room to themselves or a change of clothes every day. Certainly not a fancy purse or a fancy cell phone or an internet or a Facebook page or blah, blah, blah. And yet, you know what? They're happy. They're content. What's wrong with them?
Not a darn thing.
Nothing. Actually, it's what's right with them. Because they understand that the key to happiness is not in those things. It is so easy to be distracted by those things, you guys. It's so easy. We're all distracted by it to some extent. If I were the king for one day, if I were the king of this country for one day, and I could do one thing, I would say president, but the president doesn't have enough power to do this. If I could make one thing happen, you know what it would be? I would require everyone at 16 years old to go to another country and experience it for a week, just a week. And you would come back and fall on your knees and thank God that you were blessed to be born here or to live the way you live. So the next time you're tempted to be pissy and moany and complaining because fill in the blank, contemplate that gratitude a little bit. We talked about that yesterday a little bit. I wish everyone could experience that just once. To know how, that you could even come up with enough money to come to this convention. You know what that's called? That's called a third world problem. That is not a problem, I only have, I can't, blah, 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 to get such and such. That is not a big problem. In the big world of things, that is not a big problem. And if we could all grasp that concept, it would change your whole life. And not only your life, but it would change the lives of the people around you. Lest you think, any one of you, lest you think your life is just yours, and that you're kind of anonymous, and nobody really knows you or really cares, and you don't really have an impact or make any kind of influence, guess what? Every one of your lives is like a pebble you throw into a pond. And it hits and it ripples out. Everyone you come in contact with in your life, you have the power to make a difference in. Positively or negatively. Most of you are going to get married one day. Or maybe you already are. Many of you will have, and you know what? Most, if not all of you, will have a job where you will interact with coworkers and customers. Most of you will get married and you'll have children who you will raise. The person you become now is going to impact every one of those people. Everybody you work with, everybody you go to school with. You're not alone. You're not isolated in a box somewhere. Even if you think, well, just me, nobody really cares. Anybody you interact with, anywhere, you have the potential to make a positive impact on. Or a negative one. You can walk away and they'll go, wow, what an unhappy, miserable person, So I would like to encourage you. Think about that guy.
Hi.
cooking the pig in front of a shack of a dwelling, insanely content, completely happy. And maybe try to figure out a way to allow that, to encourage you, to be grateful and be positive. And not only to inside yourself, in the privacy of your own room, but to everyone you come in contact with. To make the whole world a better place. Boom. The end. I love you guys. Thank you so much for coming. 1 o'clock? Have a next session? You gonna come see me? Alrighty, I'll see you there. Alright? Thanks, guys.